I stared at the letter in my trembling hands, my world crumbling around me. The elegant cursive mocked me with every word. She's not the right woman for you, Elliot. You deserve better. Marlene's handwriting. My mother-in-law's poison, dripping from every carefully penned line. I'd found it tucked away in Elliot's desk drawer while searching for stamps. Now, I wished I'd never looked. The front door clicked open. "Honey, I'm home." Elliot's cheerful voice rang out. I crumpled the letter in my fist, shoving it into my pocket. In here, I called back, my voice surprisingly steady. Elliot appeared in the doorway, his smile fading as he took in my expression. "Casey? What's wrong?" Before I could answer, the doorbell chimed. Elliot's eyes lit up. "Oh, that must be Mom. She said she might stop by today." Of course she did. Marlene's timing was impeccable, as always. I plastered on a smile. "Great. I'll go let her in." Marlene swept into our living room, critical eyes already scanning for imperfections. "Casey, dear, you really should dust more often." "And what's that smell? Are you burning dinner again?" I gritted my teeth. "It's nice to see you too, Marlene." Elliot appeared, giving his mother a warm hug. "Mom, what a nice surprise." I watched them, the letter burning a hole in my pocket. How long had Marlene been trying to sabotage our marriage? And more importantly, why was Elliot keeping her letter hidden? As Marlene launched into a story about her bridge club, I excused myself to the kitchen. I needed a moment to think, to breathe. I leaned against the counter, my mind racing. Should I confront Elliot? Marlene? Both of them? One thing was certain, our picture-perfect life was nothing but an illusion. And now that I knew the truth, I couldn't unknow it. The sound of laughter drifted in from the living room. I straightened my shoulders, plastered on another fake smile, and prepared to face my enemies. Little did they know, the game was about to change. I woke to the sound of Marlene's voice, shrill and insistent, echoing through our apartment. My stomach clenched. Another surprise visit. Dragging myself out of bed, I found Elliot and his mother in the kitchen. Marlene's lips pursed as she took in my rumpled pajamas and messy hair. "Good morning, dear," she said, her tone dripping with disapproval. I thought I'd stop by and show Elliot how to make a proper breakfast. Lord knows he's not getting that here. I bit my tongue, forcing a smile. "How thoughtful of you, Marlene." Elliot, oblivious to the tension, beamed. "Mom's making her famous quiche." "Elliot tells me you've been working late," Marlene continued, cracking eggs with unnecessary force. "A wife should be home, taking care of her husband." "I have a career, Marlene," I replied, my patience wearing thin. "And Elliot's perfectly capable of taking care of himself." Marlene said, "That's not how I raised him. A man needs a woman's touch at home." I looked to Elliot, silently pleading for support. He shifted uncomfortably, avoiding my gaze. "Mom's just trying to help, Casey," he said softly. The betrayal stung. I thought of the letter, still hidden in my desk drawer. How many more of Marlene's poisonous words had Elliot absorbed? "I need some air," I muttered, retreating to the bedroom to change. As I pulled on jeans and a sweater, I heard Marlene's voice drift down the hall. "I worry about her influence on you, Elliot. She's not the kind of wife I imagined for my son." My hands shook as I buttoned my shirt. The unseen chains of Marlene's control were tightening, and Elliot was letting it happen. I grabbed my phone, texting my brother Jake, "Need to talk." "Meet for coffee?" His reply came quickly, "Sure, sis." "Everything okay?" I stared at the screen, tears pricking my eyes. No, everything was far from okay. But I couldn't let Marlene win. I wouldn't let her destroy my marriage or my sense of self. Taking a deep breath, I stepped back into the kitchen. Marlene and Elliot looked up, their conversation halting abruptly. "I'm meeting Jake for coffee," I announced, my voice steadier than I felt. "Enjoy your quiche." As I grabbed my keys and headed for the door, I caught a glimpse of Marlene's triumphant smile. She thought she was winning. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of my fight. I sat across from Jake at our favorite coffee shop, my hands wrapped tightly around a steaming mug. My brother's concerned eyes searched my face as I recounted the morning's events. That woman is toxic, Casey, Jake said, shaking his head. You need to stand up to her. I nodded, fighting back tears. I know, but Elliot. The bell above the door jingled, and I froze. Marlene swept in, her eyes narrowing as she spotted us. She marched over, triumph written all over her face. Well, she sneered. I should have known I'd find you here. Elliot's at home, worried sick, while you're out gallivanting with another man. Jake stood up, his fists clenched. I'm her brother, you witch. Marlene's eyes widened in mock surprise. Oh, of course. How silly of me. Though I must say, Casey, it's hardly appropriate for a married woman to be so close with her brother. My cheeks burned with humiliation and anger. That's enough, Marlene. You have no right. I have every right to protect my son from a cheating harlot, she hissed, loud enough for nearby patrons to hear. I stood, trembling. You're delusional. Jake is my brother, and even if he wasn't, I would never cheat on Elliot. Marlene's lips curled into a cruel smile. We'll see what Elliot believes when I tell him I caught you in a compromising position with your brother. Before I could respond, she whirled around and stormed out. The cafe fell silent, all eyes on me. Jake grabbed my arm. Casey, you can't let her get away with this. You have to tell Elliot the truth. I nodded, my mind racing. I will. But first, I need proof. Proof of all her lies and manipulations. As we left the cafe, my phone buzzed. A text from Elliot, we need to talk. Now, my heart sank. Marlene had beaten me to the punch. I looked at Jake, determination replacing fear. I'm done being her victim. It's time to fight back. Jake squeezed my shoulder. I'm with you, sis. What's the plan? A slow smile spread across my face. We're going to set a trap. And when Marlene falls into it, Elliot will finally see her for who she really is. As we walked home, I felt a newfound strength coursing through me. Marlene thought she was sowing the seeds of my destruction. Little did she know, she was planting the seeds of her own downfall. The game had changed. And this time, I was playing to win. I stood in our bedroom, surrounded by half-packed boxes, my heart pounding. This was it. The moment I'd break free from Marlene's toxic influence and Elliot's betrayal. Jake and his friend Ryan were in the living room, ready to help move my things. I'd called in sick to work, knowing I couldn't face another day in this suffocating apartment. As I folded the last of my clothes, my phone buzzed. Elliot's face flashed on the screen. I hesitated, then declined the call. He'd made his choice, siding with his mother over me time and time again. Casey? Jake's voice called from the hallway. You okay in there? I took a deep breath. Yeah, I'm coming. Just as I stepped into the living room, the front door burst open. Elliot stood there, his face a mix of anger and confusion. Marlene hovered behind him, her eyes gleaming with triumph. What the hell is going on? Elliot demanded, taking in the boxes and Jake's presents. I straightened my spine. I'm leaving, Elliot. I can't do this anymore. Marlene pushed past her son. See, Elliot? I told you she was no good. Abandoning you like this. Elliot's gaze darted between us. Casey, please. We can work this out.
I shook my head, tears threatening to spill. No, we can't. Not as long as you let her control our lives. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the crumpled letter I'd found weeks ago. Here. Read this. It's from your mother, telling you to divorce me. Elliot's eyes widened as he scanned the page. Marlene's face paled. That's private correspondence, she sputtered. Mom? Elliot's voice was small, uncertain. Is this true? I watched as the realization dawned on his face. The hurt, the betrayal emotions I'd been feeling for months. I'm sorry, Elliot, I said softly. But I can't stay in a marriage where I'm constantly undermined and disrespected. Jake and Ryan started moving boxes. Marlene lunged forward, trying to block the door. You can't leave, she shrieked. Elliot, stop her. But Elliot just stood there, the letter clutched in his hand, looking lost. I picked up my suitcase, my heart breaking even as I felt a surge of freedom. Goodbye, Elliot, I whispered. As I walked out the door, I heard Marlene's shrill voice fade behind me. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: I was finally breaking free. I sat in my new apartment, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes, when my phone buzzed. Elliot's name flashed on the screen. My heart raced as I answered. "Casey, we need to talk," Elliot's voice was strained. I confronted Mom about the letter. I held my breath, waiting. She admitted everything. The lies, the manipulation. God, Casey, I'm so sorry. I had no idea how deep it went. Tears pricked my eyes. It's a little late for that, Elliot. I know. But please, can we meet? I need to explain. Against my better judgment, I agreed. An hour later, I found myself in a quiet cafe face to face with Elliot. He looked haggard, his eyes red-rimmed. "I kicked her out," he blurted. "Mom, I told her I couldn't have her in my life if she couldn't respect you." I blinked, stunned. "You did?" Elliot nodded, reaching for my hand. I let him take it, feeling a familiar warmth. "Casey, I've been such a fool. I let her come between us, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life. But please give me another chance. I love you." My heart ached. Part of me wanted to fall into his arms, to believe everything could go back to normal. But then I remembered the months of hurt, of feeling second best in my own marriage. "Elliot," I said softly, "I appreciate what you've done, but it doesn't erase the past. You chose her over me, time and time again." "I know," he whispered, "but I'm choosing you now. Please, Casey. We can start over." As I opened my mouth to respond, my phone chimed. A text from Jake. "Marlene's here. She's threatening to sue for slander. Says you ruined her relationship with Elliot." My blood ran cold. I showed Elliot the message. His face hardened. "I'll handle this. I promise, Casey. No more letting her control our lives." I stood, my mind racing. "No, Elliot. We'll handle this. Together." As we left the cafe, I realized I was at a crossroads. Could I trust Elliot again? Or was it too late to salvage what we once had? One thing was certain: Marlene's reign of terror was about to end. And this time, I wouldn't be facing her alone. I stood in my new apartment, staring at the phone in my hand. Elliot's number glowed on the screen, his latest message pleading for a chance to talk. Part of me wanted to delete it, to move on with my life. But I couldn't shake the memory of his face when he confronted Marlene, the pain and betrayal in his eyes mirroring my own. A knock at the door startled me. I opened it to find Jake, his face grim. "Casey, you need to see this," he said, handing me his tablet. My heart sank as I read the headline: "Local woman accuses daughter-in-law of home-wrecking." Marlene's smug face stared back at me from the screen, her words twisting our story into a vicious lie. "She's gone public," Jake said softly. "It's all over social media." My hands shook as I scrolled through the article. Marlene painted herself as the victim, claiming I'd manipulated Elliot and torn their family apart. Comment section was filled with vitriol, strangers calling me horrible names based on Marlene's lies. "This is insane," I whispered. "She can't do this." My phone buzzed again. This time it was my boss. "Casey, we need to talk about these allegations. Come to the office immediately." Panic clawed at my throat. My job, my reputation, my entire life was unraveling because of Marlene's vindictive campaign. Jake squeezed my shoulder. "What are you going to do?" I took a deep breath, steeling myself. "I'm going to fight back. No more hiding, no more letting her control the narrative." I dialed Elliot's number, my heart pounding. When he answered, I didn't give him a chance to speak. "Elliot, your mother has gone too far. I need you to make a choice right now. Are you with me or are you with her?" The silence stretched for what felt like eternity. Finally, Elliot's voice came through, strong and clear. I'm with you, Casey. Always. What do you need me to do? Relief washed over me, followed quickly by determination. Meet me at the local news station in an hour. It's time to tell our side of the story. As I hung up, I caught my reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back at me looked fierce, unbroken. Marlene had tried to destroy me, but she'd only made me stronger. This was it. The final battle. And I was ready to win. The news station's bright lights felt blinding as I sat across from the interviewer, Elliot by my side. We'd just finished telling our story, exposing Marlene's manipulation and lies. As the camera stopped rolling, I felt a mix of relief and apprehension. The truth was out, but what would the consequences be? Suddenly, a commotion erupted in the hallway. Marlene burst into the studio, her face contorted with rage. "How dare you!" she shrieked, pointing at me. "You ungrateful little witch. You've turned my son against me." Elliot stood, placing himself between us. "Mom, that's enough. You need to leave." Marlene's eyes widened in disbelief. "Elliot, you can't be serious. After everything I've done for you?" I watched as Elliot's shoulders tensed. This was the moment of truth. "What you've done," he said slowly, "is try to control my life and destroy my marriage. I'm done letting you manipulate me, Mom." Marlene's face crumpled, tears welling in her eyes. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then she turned to me, her expression hardening. "This isn't over," she hissed. "I'll make sure everyone knows what a homewrecker you really are." Something inside me snapped. I stood, meeting her gaze. "No, Marlene. It is over. You've lost. Your lies, your manipulation, it ends now. We have proof of everything you've done, and we're not afraid to use it." I pulled out my phone, showing her the screen. "Remember these texts? The ones where you admitted to fabricating the cheating accusations? I wonder what people would think if these went public." Marlene paled, her bravado crumbling. "You wouldn't." "Try me," I said, my voice steady. "Leave us alone or face the consequences." For a long moment, nobody moved. Then, without another word, Marlene turned and fled the studio. As the door slammed behind her, I felt my knees go weak. Elliot caught me, pulling me into a tight embrace. "It's over," he whispered. "We did it." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. We had won, but at what cost? Our lives had been turned upside down, our relationship strained to the breaking point. As we left the studio, hand in hand, I realized this wasn't just an end. It was also a beginning. Question was, where did we go from here?
6 months after the confrontation at the news station, I found myself sitting across from Elliot in our favorite coffee shop. The familiar aroma of espresso and pastries filled the air, a stark contrast to the tension between us. "I'm glad you agreed to meet," Elliot said, his eyes searching mine. I nodded, taking a sip of my latte. "I think it's time we had this conversation. We'd been living separate lives since that fateful day, both of us healing and reflecting on our past. The wounds Marlene had inflicted were deep, but time had begun to soften their edges. I want you to know how sorry I am," Elliot began, his voice thick with emotion. "I should have seen what my mother was doing, should have stood up for you sooner." I reached across the table, squeezing his hand. "I forgive you, Elliot. We both made mistakes." He smiled sadly. "Does that mean?" I shook my head, gently withdrawing my hand. "I've grown so much these past months. I've found a strength in myself I never knew existed. And as much as I care for you, I can't go back." Elliot nodded, tears glistening in his eyes. "I understand. You deserve to be happy, Casey." As we said our goodbyes, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. This was closure, the final page of a chapter in my life. Walking home, I called Jake. "It's done," I told him. "I'm really moving on." "I'm proud of you, sis," he said. "Mom wants to know if you're still coming for dinner tonight." I smiled, thinking of the supportive family I'd rediscovered through this ordeal. "Wouldn't miss it." That evening, surrounded by loved ones, I raised a glass. To new beginnings, I toasted. As laughter filled the room, I caught my reflection in the window. The woman staring back at me was stronger, wiser, and finally free from the shadows of the past. Marlene's manipulations had nearly broken me, but in the end, they'd forged me into someone unbreakable. I was ready for whatever life threw my way next, secure in the knowledge that I could weather any storm. This wasn't just an ending. It was the start of something beautiful, a life lived on my own terms, full of love, respect, and endless possibilities.